On guys, good morning, good evening, or good afternoon. We are here live with another episode of the podcast. Super freaking pumped to be coming in here with you live this morning, this afternoon, or this evening, whatever it is for you. So you guys know the drill. If you are joining the podcast live, which is starting in 2 minutes, I want you to get down there in the comments and let me know that you're here. We're going to be talking a little bit about gymtimidation. We're going to be talking about resistance training, and I'm going to break it all down for you. This podcast is much needed for a lot of people. I'm going to blow out some, misunderstandings around the best ways to manage your weight, and we're going to do it in around 90 seconds from now. So if you're watching this one on replay, guys, make sure you get down into the comments, whether you're live on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, it doesn't matter where you are. Get in the comments, let us know that you're here, guys, and we're going to be starting in 1 minute. I am pumped and ready to rock and roll. Good morning, team. We're live in our Better Body Academy groups. How are you guys? Lovely to have you in here this morning. Giving you a little heads up that your merch has gone to the printer and it's nearly done. So I'm pretty excited to show you guys the new shirts. By the way, these new wolf shirts that we're doing, they're based on this exact shirt, the black model, and you're going to see some wolfing action here, which is going to be awesome. So I can't wait. Guys, we're starting in 30 seconds. Hang around here. Hello. Now, guys, the important news. My client, Davey Backhouse, is here. Davey, this is for you. G'day, Gareth, how are you, mate? G'day, Noemi, I hope you are well. We've got Sean, we've got Tez, we've got Sean. Look at this, so good. Guys, I reckon we are ready to get started. We're going to reward the people that are coming in on time. So, give me half a second, and I just want to quickly test something before we rock and roll into this. And I think we're nearly ready. So, guys, let's get stuck into this. On the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets, unsustainable workout programs, and stupid, shitty approaches to losing weight. Guys, welcome to another episode of the podcast. We are doing an episode which is all to do with overcoming gymtimidation, and most importantly, really why you should be doing resistance training. Yesterday I did an episode titled, You Can Do What You Want or You Can Do What Works. I did this episode because I wanted to point out that when it comes to weight management, there are a million different ways you can go about it, but in my opinion, there is a best practice. So just because a best practice exists, what is a best practice? A best practice is a way you should do something if you want to be successful, the proven method. Just because a way exists doesn't mean that a bunch of people are going to follow it. So I thought, why is it that people don't follow best practice when it comes to losing weight? Because so many people are confused. Well, first, I think most of us are naive to the fact that there is a best practice when it comes to weight loss. I think a lot of us have paid too much attention to TikTok and Instagram and people yelling at us, telling us that we should do this and that and this and that. And the actual simplicity of the message has been lost. To a lot of us, it feels like a guessing game. We've had a lifetime of failing at losing weight, trying to manage our weight. We tend to chalk up these failures and then we say, well, that doesn't work and this doesn't work. And most of the time, the reason that it didn't work is it was a strategy that wasn't sustainable in the first place. It was never going to work over the long run. And I bet that you've done some things that you would wholly admit that were never going to last. They just were never going to last in the first place. And you would admit that in hindsight. And so you kind of get to this position where you're like, well, all of these other things failed, so why would this work? Well, there is a best practice. There is a best practice. It's not a guessing game at all. But we need to make sure that we're on the same page here on what we're trying to achieve. 2 questions I need to ask to make sure we're on the same page. Number 1, do you want to just lose weight, manage your weight? Or is it more important for you to actually have a functioning body that allows you, that gives you the ability to live awesomely? Part of that will involve weight loss, but I need to know do you actually care about functionally being able to do shit? That's the first question. Second question is, do you want the strategy to be a sustainable long-term strategy, or did you just care about just getting the weight off as quickly as possible? And you'll suffer whatever consequences come with that. If losing weight at all costs is more important than functionality, and you don't care about the long-term consequences, there's a simple way for you to achieve quick weight loss. There is. Just starve yourself. Just don't eat and do lots and lots and lots of cardio. That is the answer. So if you have no real care about the long-term consequences and you don't really care for functionality, you just want to get skinny, then don't eat too much. Just stop, cut your calories right down and do lots of cardio. And yes, that is a strategy that a lot of people follow because they're desperately wanting to lose weight and they're not thinking about the sustainability of the long-term consequences. They so much want to escape where they're at the moment. They're not worried about that in the future. So let me address that strategy quickly. In terms of sustainability, if you lose weight by not eating and doing lots of cardio, what happens when you start eating and doing no cardio or wind the cardio down? Like when you do the opposite of what happens? It's not rocket science. Of course, the weight comes back on. If you did something which was not eat and lots of cardio to get it off, then the moment you start eating again and don't do the cardio, then the weight comes back on again. So all we're doing, we're not really solving the root problem. We're just kicking the shit down the avenue a little bit. Now, in terms of consequences, if your focus is not eating and doing lots of cardio, this is the part that most everyone does not understand, okay? There are consequences. The signal your brain receives from the actions that you are taking when you do lots of cardio, none of the other stuff, and you don't eat much, is to pare down muscle from the body, because it's heavy if you're doing lots of muscle, if you're weighing lots of muscle, if you've got lots of muscle on board when you do lots of cardio, it's heavy. Do you see many heavyweight African runners? No. That's because to carry muscle would exhaust you a lot. So the signal that if you're doing lots of cardio and don't have a lot of food coming in is to pare down the muscle that you've got. The second thing is reduced overall metabolism, which happens because when you drop muscle, because of the signal that you're sending and the actions that you're taking, your engine is smaller. And so when your engine is smaller, you burn less calories to compensate for the fact that you're eating less food. Does that make sense, guys? This is the signal. So if you put those two things together, if you're focusing on not eating and doing lots of cardio, which I want you to ask yourself in this moment, is this you? Right? No bullshit. Is this you? Is this your strategy? I'm just going to do lots of cardio and try not to eat too much. If that's you, let me put it together for you. You may get skinny, but you will be weak. And in order to maintain that skinniness, you'll have to eat a very low calorie intake forever. There's no exit from it. Because if you eat more than a little, now that you've slowed your metabolism right down because of all the muscle that you've lost, it will mean that the moment you eat more than a little, you'll be back in a calorie surplus again, gaining weight as body fat with no underlying muscle this time. To me, that sounds like hell. If you like your food, there's no enjoyment that's going to happen out of this. So let's assume that you're a person that wants a great life of functionality, you want long-term sustainability, and you don't want the significant consequences that I've outlined, and of course you want to lose weight and keep it off. There is a best practice. Guys, if you're in Better Body Academy and you're not adhering to this practice and you're still in your first 1 to 3 months, I'm not really sure why you're changing the plan that is best practice. And what is that? It is the trifecta system. Number 1, eating on a flexible-based system, a flexible system which gets you to achieve a rough calorie and protein target every day, where foods are neither good or bad, they're just part of the total plan. If you want indulgence, factor it in, no problems at all. Number 2, be as active as possible in your life. Walk more, move more, track your steps. The more active you are, the more calories you burn over the course of the entire day. And if you would like to, you can include some focused cardio, but you're doing that because you like doing it. It's good for your heart and lungs. You pair it with resistance training, but you don't see it as your primary weight loss tool. You're not trying to run off the fat. You're doing it because you like doing cardio and you want to improve your cardiovascular system, or you want to compete. So we've got eating, we've got moving, and then we've got the third component here, which is strength training. This means lifting some sort of weight, be it body weight, steel, band. It can be at the gym or it can be at home. It doesn't matter. Let's double down on why strength training is gold. Dave Reynolds, please listen up, brother. Muscle is movement. With no muscle, your functionality is gone. Muscle is strength. With no muscle, you are weak. If you are overweight and you are weak and you're trying to haul yourself around, that means you're going to be extremely tired. And if you've got kids, nieces, nephews, you're not going to be able to pick them up. Muscle is aesthetic. If you want to look good, you get that by filling out your skin. Muscle is bone health because resistance training, which creates muscle, remineralizes bones, preventing you against things like fractures. So when you're an 80-year-old man or woman and you fall over and potentially have a fractured hip, it doesn't break because you're strong. Plus you've got stability. Muscle is protective against diabetes because it improves insulin sensitivity. Muscle has been shown now to be protective against cancer. Muscle means better sleep because resistance training, and I know that a lot of you will know this, resistance training tires out and really fatigues the central nervous system. So many of you guys go to bed at night feeling physically depleted, but mentally like wired and still awake. That's because your central nervous system hasn't been worked. It's not tired. Your body's tired because it's sick of carrying you around. But your brain and your nervous system isn't tired. When you train in the gym, I don't have a single problem with sleeping ever, unless I'm on holidays and not training. Muscle is mental health. Lower depression, anxiety, improved self-esteem, and brain function. But relevant to this discussion, muscle is the long-term answer to weight management. It is the long-term weight management investment strategy. Strength training and building muscle is the best way to signal to the brain to increase your metabolism. It's the exact opposite of cutting calories and doing cardio, which tells the brain to slow down the metabolism. Instead, strength training and being willing to slowly increase calories after a fat loss phase tells the body to boost metabolism and no longer be scared of weight loss and suppress the metabolism. Muscle chews through more calories than any other type of body tissue. This is why if you have two people that weigh 120 kilograms, they weigh the exact same thing, but one's 40% body fat, the other one's 20% body fat. The metabolism on the 20% body fat will nearly always be way higher because of the fact that muscle demands calories. So if you've got more of it, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to burn more calories sitting on the couch watching Netflix. This means, food-wise, you get to have all the indulgences and escape the low-calorie prison. But the challenge is, it takes a while to build. It won't have the immediate calorie burn of cardio that we get so addicted to thinking that it's working, but the moment we can't keep it up anymore, guess what? The benefit stops. Now, there are a few immediate hurdles to deal with when it comes to getting in the gym, getting started in resistance training. I want this to be a real discussion. Those hurdles are, You need to mentally embrace this is the best practice. It is not super low calories, eating a pathetic amount of protein and doing as much as cardio as possible. That's just never going to work over the long term. If I've told you everything I've told you already in this podcast episode, and you still go and do that as your strategy, you're mad. It doesn't make any sense. You're harming yourself. It's not going to work. Let the improvement in your eating and your walking take care of your calorie deficit. I'm not saying you're not going to lose any weight at the start. You absolutely will. But you're not trying to drive that weight loss with endless cardio sessions. What you're trying to do is tune your eating up a little bit so you're not eating like an asshole and move a bit more. That's the goal. Number 2, you need to understand, and this is the big thing, that resistance training is a new skill. And guess what? You're going to suck at it at the start. Like, there's 20 people watching on live, and I bet there's a lot of you that still suck at it, still feel like you suck, questioning like, are people looking at you in the gym and all that type of stuff. You're going to suck at the start. Be okay with that. You know, I suck at speaking Spanish because I don't know how to speak Spanish. Like, I suck at cooking curries because I don't know how to cook curries. You guys might be maestros at that. So you need to embrace the suck at the start. It's okay. No one is expecting you to walk in and be perfect. So these are the hurdles that you've got to overcome, right? That we're not in the gym training to burn calories. We're trying to create some muscle and composition. Number 2, you're going to suck at the start. And number 3, you need to overcome the initial resistance and intimidation that every single person has when they do something that is new. The rhetoric that I'm just not a gym guy or a gym girl. Well, the fact is, you're not. You're not at the moment. But you can become one. And given what's at stake, isn't it worth it? Let's get into the psychology of this. We all hate what we're not good at. Everyone hates what we're not good at. We all want to save face and not look like a dick in front of people, right? We all want that. We all fear what we don't know. Our brains are all the same. The highest priority of our brain, guys, is keeping us alive at all costs. And if it senses fear, it senses threat. So it tries to keep us safe from doing the thing. We say, I'm not a gym person. That's because you're scared. If the thought of being in the gym is the same thought that you get of going to a social event where you don't know anyone, you know that fear? I totally get it. That's why you opt out of going to the social event. Just understand, guys, that most of the modern day fears that we suffer from, our life is not actually in danger. It's not. But the brain perceives that it is. You're not going to die going to the gym. If you can overcome the fear and learn to suck at the start, you stand to gain a hell of a lot of benefit. Yeah, Jace, but I just don't like going to the gym. Of course you don't, because you suck at it and you're scared of it at the moment. But let me ask you a question. Do you like being strong, functional? Do you like sleeping better? Especially if you're going through menopause as a woman and you're having all that crazy, crappy sleep with the hot flushes. Do you like being more confident? Would you like to have better posture rather than being kind of like a sloped over mess? Would you like to be a little bit more mobile? Do you like the idea of having a lower risk of diabetes and cancer? Most importantly in my life is, do you like the idea of being able to go out and have drinks, entree, dessert, main meal, and then maybe a snack when you get home as well? Do you like that idea? Do you like the idea of looking in the mirror and feeling strong and proud? Do you like the idea of the next 50 years being able to do stuff? Well then, you got to grow to like the idea of putting weight on your muscles and your skeleton. They need to get under resistance. So how do you overcome this fear? First, I want to talk about what's on the other side of the fear. And I'm not talking about all the benefits that I just listed off then. I'm talking about freedom. I'm talking about freedom. When you do something that you didn't think that you could bring yourself to do, the boost to your self-worth is beyond belief. It's beyond belief. And I know a lot of you who are now in the gym know that. The two things for me that come to mind that I didn't think I'd be able to do is skydiving and running a marathon. Two things that I was honestly petrified at and so scared of. The main reason I was scared was because I was worried about what people would think if I failed. That's the reality. If I said that I was going to do it and I didn't follow through, I felt like such a hypocrite. But in my defense, I had not totally become aware that actually what I was scared of was the fear of failure and the rejection. The moment that it became clear to me that that's what I was scared of, I had to commit. And on both occasions, it took me about 6 months of preparation. The marathon was physical preparation. The skydive was mental preparation, but I fucking did it. And on the other side of those fears, my self-belief shot through the roof. I want to be clear. The reason you are saying I'm not a gym person is because you are scared. And that's okay. That's cool. But if you remain bound to your fears, your self-belief will remain low. If you conquer your fears, your self-belief will blow up. So to conquer your gym fears, as we bring this episode to a close, you can take one of two strategies, but you must commit to yourself. Number one, you can go cold turkey, right? You can just sign up, we'll build you a program, and you go and fumble your way through it, knowing that your coaches are here to answer any questions. That's exactly what Terry Holden did. 48 years old, never done a gym session in his life, turns up to Anytime Fitness, signs up, and starts going at 5 a.m. from that point in time. And now he's a gym guy. Or you can take it slowly, if that's what you feel you need. We call it systemic desensitization. Slowly exposing yourself to the fear, breaking it down in steps. Maybe you could firstly start by asking a few of your friends for advice on which gym they recommend. Then you could go and do an in-person visit where they can tour you and show you around, and just ask yourself, fear aside, does the vibe feel right for you? Perhaps the first week you could just go in and do the bike or the treadmill. Ironic, right? But you could just do that for the first week just to get used to the music and the noises and then you could ask a more experienced friend to come with you. What I would do is I would pay for a mate that maybe goes to a different gym. I would pay the $20 for their drop-in and say, can you just come with me for one session? And we'll build you the program. You walk me through the different machines, just so I kind of have a bit of an idea of where they are and how to do them. Get them to take you there for 40, 45 minutes and just show you around. Here's what will happen. Within 2 weeks, that acute fear will be far behind you. And what will remain is this little intimidation based on, am I doing this movement right, or are people looking at me? That will be the kind of question that remains. Now, by the end of the month, so 4 weeks later, if you're training 2 or 3 times a week, you will no longer care, because you'll realize that everyone in the gym is more worried about themselves. They don't care about you, to be brutally honest. And number 2, people that go to the gym inherently believe in self-improvement. They're generally nice people. They want to help. So if you ask for someone, hey, can you just remind me on how to do this movement? They will happily show you. You could go to the front desk, ask them when the quietest times are. Most memberships now come with a 30-minute orientation at the club by one of the PTs. Wear whatever you feel comfortable, not what you think you should be wearing. But most importantly, in this episode, we've talked about the crazy list of benefits that happen as a consequence of you doing resistance training and preserving the muscle that you've got. So you need to remember, this is not about anyone else. This is not about anyone else. If you step back from this and you think to yourself, well, this podcast has sunk in, it's made me understand really why there is a good way and a not so good way to go about this. If you can build in this habit, 2 to 3 times a week, even less if it needs to be at the start. I guarantee you, that this will be a habit that will change your life if you remain consistent. Because when you start looking at yourself in the mirror, you start feeling you're sleeping better, you start seeing your confidence building, you will never want to go back. Guys, I hope this has been helpful. And to my brother Dave, dude, I just want you to win, and I want to celebrate with you, man. And I want to see that look in your face when you're a month into it and you're 5 kilos down, and it's just because you're feeling better and the confidence is building. Guys, this has been the Better Body Academy podcast. Hopefully this has been a helpful episode. I'll see you on the next episode. Take care. Okay, team, we are done for another podcast episode. We've been consistent on the podcast here. Get after it, Dave. I don't know who's saying that, but I love it. We've been pumping out some episodes here. So if you haven't realized already, I'm trying to do a mix of really the big episode at this time every week, and then trying to make sure that we kind of get a sprinkling of little podcast bites. So if you have questions, please fire them through to our success team if you're a client of ours, and I will try to turn them into a quick shot video where we just go live and try to address that specific thing. Because I think it's, for a lot of people, I don't know about you guys, but I feel it's a lot easier to get your head around something when it's explained in just some level of detail. One of the things that I've come to realize about myself is if I understand why, I can latch on to the process of doing it. But if I don't quite understand why, if I'm still unsure of why it's relevant, I'm not just talking about gym here, but why should I do this? Oh, that's the reason why. If I've got the why, then it becomes easier for me to attach to the process and follow through. But I need to be really convinced about why am I doing this in the first place? Why are we not cutting calories like anything? Why are we drinking as much water as we possibly can? Why are we making the switch to diet sodas instead? If you have the whys here, and that's the goal of our coaching, is to try to explain in the best way we can and get it through. Because once you pick it up in your brain, oh my God, it then lodges in. Sometimes you just need to hear it a certain way for it to lodge in your mind and stick with you. So guys, if there's no questions, hopefully this episode has been helpful. Peace out. Have a beautiful morning, evening, or afternoon, and we'll chat soon.